It's that time of the week where we get game preparation ready for the Indianapolis Colts. And we're going to discuss why the Kansas City Chiefs should not sleep on this team. And if they want to go 3-0 headed to Tampa Bay, they better bring their A game. But before we do get into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. So before we get too deep into this video, I love to start my game preparation videos off with the initial injury report, and Kansas City released theirs today. And no surprise, or at least it shouldn't be, that Harrison Butker did not participate. That means we could be headed into this game with a Matt Amendola. And bad on me for not really mentioning Matt Amendola as one of the unsung heroes against the Chargers, because he did exactly what an emergency policy kicker needs to do, and that make it field goals, make it extra points, and don't miss anything, and go home and walk out with a W. He did everything you could ask for in an emergency kicker that basically hasn't been on the team in the last 2 weeks. He didn't even know where the tunnel was for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he showed up and he showed out. So hopefully he could carry on into the Colts too, because he might be needed in this game. One that did catch me off guard on the did not participate was Mike Dana. He had a calf injury, so he did not participate. Rose an eyebrow, but rose the eyebrow even higher was because the Kansas City Chiefs ended up nabbing off the LA Rams Benton Whitley. Yeah, never heard of him before. So if you came to this channel thinking for stats, thinking for highlights, thinking for information, wrong channel. Barely got his name correctly. So it's going to be interesting to see why he was brought up onto the practice. Was he on the 53? Ooh, I will let you guys know in a picture right there if he's on 53. I think he's no, because if you take him off the practice squad, he's got to be on the 53-man roster. We're going to get this cleared up. But anyways, he was brought onto the team, and then it also rose. The other eyebrow was because with the Willie Gay suspension looming, well, not even looming, it is here, that led a lot of people think, well, is a Frank Clark suspension looming now because of what happened with him in the offseason and all his legal stuff that was going on? That is a very great question to answer, because we know the NFL can hand out suspensions whenever they want to, and I wish I had a more direct answer on that. It would seem likely if Willie Gay got suspended, Frank Clark's suspension is coming. We just don't know when. It could be next week. It could be week 16. It could be 2025. We don't know. That's just how the league works with these suspensions. So keep your eyes out on that moving forward. It's going to be definitely interesting to see too. And then Indy, they're getting right to, which I guess is unfortunate, but at the same time, we knew those weren't big injuries with the likes of an Alec Pierce coming back, a Michael Pittman Jr. coming back, and a Shaquille Leonard. Most of y'all know him as Darius Leonard, but that's his not new name, but that's the name he's going by. 3 key pieces for the Colts too that will help them elevate their game and try to take down the Kansas City Chiefs moving on to Sunday. Now it's crazy how a couple weeks changes everyone's perception on a team. Going into this season, the Indianapolis Colts going into Indy was going to be one of the most difficult games for the Kansas City Chiefs. And now that I like to call them 0-2, and maybe they should be, because a tie is basically just as good as a loss. But again, it actually benefits your record towards playoff time. But they're 0-1-1, and no one thought they would be here. And now now Kansas City is going into Indy in a big game where they can't drop another game too, which makes them dangerous. But before the season, it was like the Chiefs better watch out for the Colts, because they can be a sleeper Super Bowl team that a lot of people won't be mentioning, because they just needed a quarterback, and everything is clicking. They're going to be one of those sleeping giants going into the playoffs that no one wants to play. And now that script is totally turned too. I'm not buying that script whatsoever. It's only been 2 weeks. This season is very young. You can't judge a team specifically right now off their record. They have a lot of pieces that, if they click, can beat the Kansas City Chiefs too. So I'm not falling for any of that right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to discuss the things that I think the Kansas City Chiefs should look out and that they should excel and stop the Indianapolis Colts, and they'll be 3-0. The first thing we're going to talk about is some Badger on Badger crime, and this is not Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. We're going to talk about 2 former Wisconsin boys, in Leo Chenal and Jonathan Taylor. They asked Leo Chenal a couple questions today about Jonathan Taylor, and he says he's excited to hit Jonathan Taylor because they didn't allow him to do much in college and in practice, because, hey, he's your star running back, so we can't allow him to get hurt. Now the roles are reversed, and he gets to go after him. And Leo Chenal's going to play a really pivotal role in this defense. The 3 linebackers going into this will be Nick Bolton, the leader, Leo Chenal, and it was announced today that Darius Harris will fill in for Willie Gay. And I actually really like that, because Darius Harris, He was playing with his hair on fire in the preseason. He was flying around the ball. I think that's a perfect replacement. Do I think he's going to fill the hole completely? No. No one moves like Willie Gay. But at the end of the day, I think Darius Harris will put great film out there to where teams might have to really watch out for him, because I think he's going to make some really good plays out there. But Leo Chanel is going to be someone where we've been excited for him the whole offseason. Now that the pre-snap reps are going to start going up, he's going to start seeing more playing time. He's going to be out there making plays, and we're going to see Mr. Death Row out there making some hits, and hopefully he's getting schemed to where he can get after the quarterback and laying down Jonathan Taylor, because one way Kansas City needs to win this game, and it's up front, and it's stopping the run game, because I do believe the Indianapolis Colts are going to try to get back to themselves of last year, which is, hey, get Jonathan Taylor the ball 25 to 30 times and control the clock and make sure Patrick Mahomes isn't out there. And if they succeed at that and Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a chance, this will be a game Chiefs Kingdom doesn't want to watch, where it's fourth quarter and we're like, why are we losing by 3, or why are we only up 7 when this was a team that got blown out against Jacksonville? Again, this is a week-by-week league, so don't be surprised if this is a game, because Indy has a lot to play for right now, and they are a team, like I mentioned, that has high Super Bowl aspirations. Yes, that's what a lot of people were banking them as. There's predictions of them as underdog Super Bowl favorites. That's not going to go away after 2 weeks, and Kansas City cannot get upset here, and Kansas City's got to prove a point that I've always mentioned too. If you're a good team, you beat good teams. If you're a good team, you destroy bad teams. You're going to show what the Indianapolis Colts really are here, and I hope Kansas City can basically put their foot on the gas and just run over this team. Now, one thing I'm hoping for that might not even make this a game is if Gus Bradley, the former defensive coordinator for the Raiders last year, the new defensive coordinator for the Colts, still calls those cover 3s. This won't even be a game, and Mahomes will be Mahomes and go nuts. Might throw for another 5-6 touchdown games. I don't believe that'll happen, though, but who knows? Bradley did it last year twice. So he can really run into this game with cover 3, and Mahomes can have a field day and go nuts. And that would mean watch out for these wide receivers to go crazy. A lot of us have been waiting for it. I know we're only going into week 3, but we've seen the running backs go off. Of course, the tight ends do their things. But Juju hasn't really done much. MVS, Sky Moore, McCole, they've been silent. If cover 3 is called in this game, expect them to go nuts. Again, I don't know if that's the case. I just don't believe. I really don't believe Gus Bradley would be too in over his head to be like, no, my scheme works. We're going to beat these guys the way I do it, and it's going to be cover 3. I just don't believe he is that, prideful. I believe he will adjust, and I believe he won't let Patrick Mahomes go nuts on him. You guys know the 2 games last year. Patrick Mahomes scored 40 points in both of those games. If that is happening again with the cover 3 defense, Mahomes is going to get another 40 points. I believe adjustments from Gus Bradley, but again, who knows? I hope there isn't any. That means I'm going to have a very good Sunday morning. Speaking of this offense, we're going to stick with Mahomes because he has a 7-0 record in a dome. And would you look at that? Indy is in a dome. And he's actually thrown 20 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Would you look at that? In a dome. Now, I don't really want to buy too much into those stats. But again, numbers speak everything. Numbers never lie. But at the end of the day, too, the Colts defense, I think they're better than what they are showing. I will say that. They got stars out there. Stephon Gilmore. They got a Kenny Moore. A Darius Leonard. Shaquille Leonard, my bad. Yannick Ngakoue. They can force a pass rush. DeForest Buckner. They got players. And if they decide to get right in this game, they can throw habits against Mahomes in this offensive line too, where this can be a back and forth game or a defensive battle like a 23-20. And history does speak a lot too. I know teams change and things like that, time in and time out. But if you're a real Kansas City Chief fan, you know Indianapolis Colts have been a pain in our backside for the better half of 20 years. They seem to always have our numbers. Yeah, Kansas City has won games here and there, but in the playoffs, whether it was Peyton Manning, whether it was Andrew Luck, they always seem to give us a good fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the same too. That's why I say don't buy too much into that, oh, they tied with the Texans. Oh, they got blown out by the Jaguars. This season is still very young. Teams are still trying to figure themselves out. And the last thing the Kansas City Chiefs want to happen is the Indianapolis Colts figure themselves out. But Mahomes playing in a dome, if they're still trying to work out some kinks on the defense for the Indianapolis Colts, hey, he might up that touchdowns to 25, like I mentioned, have a 5 touchdown games. It's what I'm hoping for. But again, don't buy too much into this young season. Now, I wanted to close this video off on not really on what Kansas City could take advantage of the Indianapolis Colts or what they should look out for, but it was something really positive and insightful that I saw on Twitter today with Nick Bolton. Thought I should share it, so why not close the video off with that? He was asked about Willie Gay's suspension, and he said he didn't really care about the suspension. He mostly cared about Willie Gay, the person, and he's been checking up on him day to day and making sure everything is all right with him and making sure he's still in a good mindset. That is the definition of a leader. This is more than a game on the field, it is off the field. And that's how championships are made, is when you bond and you have a family and a brotherhood. And it's cool to hear him basically embrace that with his teammate, with his friend, and with someone he views as a family too. Because as I mentioned in a prior video too, we knew the struggles Willie Gay was dealing with last year, where his mindset wasn't right, where he was dealing with injuries, and it set him into a state of depression that he mentioned. And it's great to see it's great to see Nick Bolton step in for Willie Gay and say, hey, I'm here if you need me. I will check in on you, and I will make sure everything is right for you throughout this suspension. That is a true definition of a leader. When it's off the field, it definitely translates to on the field. He's going to be a great linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs for years to come. I can see him challenging Derek Johnson's record. I know it's too soon to be preaching on that, but I love what he has done in the first 2 years. I just thought it would be a cool story to share closing this video off because, like I mentioned, that is the true definition of a leader. And I'm just happy he's on our team and leading our defense. But with that, Chiefs Kingdom, I will close out this video. Let me know how you're feeling going into this game against the Indianapolis Colts. I still feel very confident, but I'm not going to be like Kansas City is going to blow this team out. It's hard to beat anyone any given day, but this team is hungry. And when a team is hungry, that means they are out for blood and they will do anything to win a game. So let me know how you're feeling about this game. But before I close this out, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. With that, I am checking out. Peace.